What if you can build, populate, and test your database with data that you don't have to manually input every time? Well, Laravel can do that for you. In this video, I'm going to explain to you guys what is migration, seeder, and factory. First and foremost, you guys need to know what is MVC. MVC stands for Model View Controller, which is a software pattern that separates an application into 3 interconnected components. So, each component have their own roles and responsibilities. We are going to look at them. This is an example of how MVC works. Let's look at the main component first. There is model, controller, and view. Model is going to manage the data, while controller is going to process requests and call view, which view is going to display the data to the user. Well, how does this MVC happen in the first place? Let's give an example of a user clicks a navigation link which say product list. This link will trigger and send the request to the route, which the route will send the request to the controller. And the controller will process the request and is going to see what kind of data that it needs, or if it needs to be processed and what kind of output does it need. So for this example, it needs products list, which is products data. The controller will request the products, and the model is going to interact with the database to retrieve the data, which the database is going to send back to model, and the model will go and send the data to controller. Then the controller will send the data to view, which the view is going to display the data through a user interface. Lastly, the user is going to see list of products after clicking this link. This is what is going to happen. Now that we know how MVC works, let's look at how the database can be created and modified. Migration is going to handle that. You can create and modify the table in a database. And now that you have created your table, obviously you want to input data to test if it works, right? That's where seeder comes in. Seeder is going to populate your database with fake data. There's 2 ways you can do this, which is using fixed data. Is where you put the data manually. For example, maybe you have a table that has a column name, maybe, and age. Then for fixed data, you are going to type in the name and the age, which then will be processed, and the name and age will go inside the table. While the second option is factory. Factory is going to generate this that you input manually dynamically. You just need to give an example of how the column should be inserted, or how the data should be inserted inside the table. For example, if there is a column name, it should be a random word. If it's an age, it should be a random number. Then it will process and give you a random name and number. Now that you know how this works, let's actually try it. Let's first start our Laravel. Then if you follow my tutorial in my previous video, we are going to open up our previous project, which is demo project. In this video, we are going to focus on database folder only. In my example, I said about products, right? Let's create a new table in the database named products. How do you do that? Is type in PHP artisan make migration create products table. Now it has successfully created a table. You press Ctrl, then hover into this link and click it. which will then automatically send you to the new table. This is where you are going to modify the table. In this example, our product is going to have name, size, and color. How you do that is you type in table, then you type in the data type, which for name is string. Inside this, you are going to type in the column name. Then for size, the data type will be number, which is integer. Then lastly, the color will be string. Then to create this table, you need to run the migration, which is php artisan migrate. As you can see, it has created products table. Let's look at our database. Now, this is your new table. After this, we are going to make a model which will interact with the database. You have to type in php artisan make model product. In here, first, you need to link this model with the table in the database. You need to type in protected tables, then your table name in the database, which is products. If you forgot what your table name is, you can go back to migration, and this is what the name of your table. Then, in order to fill data inside the table, you need to list the column or attribute inside fillable variable. In here, you type in the column or attribute that is inside your table, then save. Don't forget the semicolon. Now that it has a link with the database, we want to insert data into the table, which will then use seeders. Let's first make our product seeder. Command is php artisan make seeder product seeder. In here is where you are going to write what kind of data that you want to be inserted in the table. Let's first populate our data using fixed data, which you can do by typing product create. Then inside here, you type in what column that you want to input the data. And put any data that you want. So the product name will be sofa. Then the size will be 5. Color will be blue. Save. And as you can see, we are interacting with the model, so you need to call the model name, which is use app models product. Then to actually input this data, you need to go to your database seeder and remove this. Then type in is call. Then inside here is your seeder name, which is product seeder class. Let's try it. You need to type in php artisan migrate seed. Let's look at our database again. Right click on the table and refresh. We go to data. As you can see, we have inserted a data. Now, every time you want to test your database, you can just run PHP Artisan migrate seed, so you don't have to manually input it every time. Now that we know how to populate your database with fixed data, let's try using factory. First, we need to create the factory, which you can type in PHP Artisan make factory product factory. Now in here, you need to link this with the model. Type in protected model product class. Now that you know you are trying to link the model, so you need to call the model. Now that you have called the model, to actually use factory, you need to go back to the model and type in use as factory. Then just follow this directory. Now we can go back to product factory and actually type in how the attribute or column should be inserted. For name, it should be word. And for size, it should be a number. There's two ways you can type in number between 1 to 10, or you can just type in random digit. If you say 1 to 10, it's just going to generate a random number within 1 to 10. And lastly, color. It has a special name, which is color name. Now that you have defined how the data should be inserted, you can go back to product seeder, and in here you can type in product, then factory. How many data do you want? Let's say 5, then create. Let's try it. Let's check the database. As you can see, the data has successfully inserted with randomized data. If you notice, there is 2 identical data. This is because we didn't refresh the database. In order to do that, you have to type in PHP Artisan migrate fresh seed, which will then refresh the database and insert the new data. Now there is no more duplicate. Let's go to our browser and type in our project name, and let me try to use my email and password from the previous video. As you can see, I cannot log in because the database has been refreshed. So what I want you guys to do is make a seeder for user table and log in using that fixed data. Now you have learned how to do migration, seeder, and factory. It's not as hard as it seems, right? Well, if you have any problem, feel free to ask. Then, in my next video, I will be teaching you about root.